Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. And today, we're going to do a book haul because I need to put these books away, and can't do that till I haul them, otherwise I forget about them. These are just physical books, nothing on my Kindle. Because if I did a Kindle, that would be a much longer video. So, they are a mix of finds from my library, a Goodreads win, a book Dave purchased for me because he wants me to read it, and I'll talk about that when I get there, a buddy read book, and Catholic fiction, a non-fiction. It's just a wide mix. So I'm going to timestamp it, and you can skip to where you want it to be. So first up, let's do contemporary. These are all finds from my library, believe it or not. First two are Fanny Flagg's. The first one is Daisy Faye and the Miracle Man. And the second one is the All-Girl Filling Station's Last Reunion. Which begs the question, do I have the first book? Because I think this is part 2. Nope, it's not part 2. Okay. So, apparently my Fanny Flagg books are growing in popularity, or I think I have them almost all now. Next up is, I just love the cover of this. This is Daisy's Vintage Cornish Camper Van by Ali McNamara. The spine is broken, but that's okay. I will read you the back of this one. Welcome to the gorgeous Cornish town of St. Felix, where there's magic in the air. When Anna inherits a broken down camper van from her best friend, and she takes the chance for a quick trip to Cornwall, some sea air and fish and chips on the beach is just the tonic she needs. But St. Felix has bigger plans for Anna. She discovers a series of unsent postcards dating back to the 1940s, hidden in the upholstery of the van. Anna knows that it's a sign. She'll make sure that the messages reach the person that they were meant for. And as the broken down van is restored to gleaming health, so Anna begins to find her way back to happiness. I just love the cover, and it's not going to be a complicated read, so it was an easy pick up for a quarter. I picked this one up because I ran across the title when I was doing research for the February poll, and it just so happened to be at the library in the bookshop, and that is Recipe for Persuasion by Sonali Dev. I have read nothing by this author, and I believe this is in her series of Austen retellings, and given how much I loved Persuasion, I'm on the fence, but it cost me $1, so it's not, a huge investment. If I hate it, I can give it right back to my library. So, and last up was a Kristen Hannon book. That is Night Road, and it was in perfect condition. I will read you the title, or the back. Life comes down to a series of choices: to hold on, to let go, to forget, to forgive. Which road will you take? Life is good on quiet, affluent Pine Island for the picture-perfect Faraday family. Jude Faraday is a devoted, stay-at-home mother, works tirelessly to be the best possible parent to her teenage twins, Mia and Zach. When Lexi Bale, a former foster child with a dark past, moves into their close-knit, progressive community, no one is more welcoming than Jude. Lexi quickly becomes Mia's best friend. Then Zach falls in love with Lexi, and the three become inseparable, upsetting the fragile status quo of the Faraday family. till the kid's senior year of high school tests every bond and pushes Jude to the brink. It's a dangerous, explosive season of drinking, driving, parties, kids who want to let loose, and parents who don't know how to hold on. In this powder keg of a summer, all it takes is one careless mistake, one terrible decision to ruin everything and pit friend against friend and neighbor against neighbor. In the years that follow, each must face the harrowing consequences of that single night and find a way to forget or the courage to forgive. Yeah, I really want to read this one. I really, really want to read that one. Okay, next up. Let's do historical fiction. This would be the Goodreads win. This is The Other March Sisters by Linda Epstein, Ali Melaningo, and Liz Parker. It comes out in March of 2025, and I believe it is three novellas. So, yeah. Part 1 is Amy Curtis March, The Art of Courting. Part 2 is Margaret March Brooke, Finding Meg March. Part 3, Beth March, A Deer and Nothing Else. Part 4, Amy Curtis March, Redux. So, the other 3 March sisters besides Jo. Viewers of the channel will know I didn't really enjoy my reread of Little Women, so we will see if I like this one better. It goes on sale the 25th of February. And it is less than 350 pages? 342 pages. So we shall see. 3 new authors. No harm, no foul. If it doesn't work, it can go to my library. Next up is another Kate Quinn book. I'm slowly collecting them, and the rest of these are all from my library. This would be The Alice Network. This is World War II historical, I believe. No, dual timeline, 1947, 1915. So that is going to be up my alley. Next up would be Death in the Maiden by Ariana Franklin and Samantha Norman. I believe Samantha finished the book because the author, which is Ariana Franklin, died. I have read the first book in this series, and I absolutely loved it. So Samantha Norman is Ariana Franklin's daughter. She has... So, yeah, I'll read you the back. This is... Our protagonist is a female doctor in 12th century England, and it's fantastic. The first book is set in Oxford, and it is superb. England, 1191. After the death of her friend and patron, King Henry II, Adelia Aguilar, England's mistress of the art of death, aka she is a pathologist in modern day lingo, is training her daughter Ali to carry on her craft. Ali is already a skilled healer, but the young woman is nearly 20, and her father, Rowley, Bishop of St. Albans, and his patron, Queen Eleanor of Aquitaine, would like to find Ali an influential husband who would appreciate a woman with such unusual gifts. When a friend in Cambridgeshire falls ill, Ali is sent to Ely, where her path will cross with Lord Perival, a young aristocrat who would be a most suitable match. But when Ali arrives, all is in chaos. A village girl has disappeared. Over the past few months, several girls from surrounding villages have vanished. Will her training and stubborn pursuit of the truth help her find the killer? or make her the next victim. And I was wrong. The first book takes place in Cambridge, not Oxford. I completely recommend that series if you are even remotely interested in medieval fiction. Next up is The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. And this is a remarkable novel about J.P. Morgan's personal librarian, Bella DaCosta Green, the Black American woman who was forced to hide her true identity and pass as white in order to leave a lasting legacy that enriched our nation. Last up for historical fiction would be The Keeper of Happy Endings by Barbara Neal. Yeah, I want to read this. Every story leaves an echo, especially the unfinished ones. Soline Roussel is well schooled in the business of happy endings. For generations, her family has kept an exclusive bridal salon in Paris where magic is worked with needle and thread. It is said that the bride who wears a Roussel gown is guaranteed a lifetime of joy. But devastating losses during World War II leave Soline's world and heart in ruins and her faith in love shaken. She boxes up her memories, stowing them away along with her broken dreams, determined to forget. Decades later, while coping with her own tragic loss, aspiring gallery owner Rory Grant leases Soline's old property and discovers a box containing letters and a vintage wedding dress, never worn. When Rory returns the mementos, an unlikely friendship develops, and eerie parallels in Rory's and Soline's lives begin to surface. It is clear that they were destined to meet, and that Rory may hold the key to righting a 40-year wrong and opening the door to shared healing and perhaps a little magic. I love the cover of this book. And it's set in Paris, so, you know, why wouldn't I want to read that? Okay. Next up, let's do classics. Okay, first up was a library find, and the only library find in this pile, and the book that has had my heart for more than 45 years at this point, is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. This book is responsible for me loving historical fiction. And I'm on the fence about rereading it because, as we all know, my reread of Little Women didn't go well, and it spoiled my love of that story. However, I do not want that to happen to this book. However, I wanted it on my shelf. And this was a decent copy. Spine isn't broken. It's a little beat up, but that's okay. And I'll read you the back. Oh, there is no synopsis on the back, so I won't be reading you the back. However, this was published in 1943. I seriously, this book, you want to know a foundational book for what shaped me as a reader? A Tree Grows in Brooklyn would be one of the key foundational books of what made me the reader I am. Okay. Next up, I am slowly having to buy these one at a time because I cannot find the box set in the States. Why is there a mark on this book? And that is the Tundra Publications of the Anne of Green Gables set. So I have the first three. I have read Anne of Green Gables. I am supposed to be reading this month Anne of Avonlea. And that leaves Anne of the Island for March. And I am still acquiring the rest of them. I love these covers. I love the fact that they are you know, the numbers are on the spine for the order of the books, and I sincerely wish these were still available in box set in the States. They are not. They are probably available in box set in Canada. But the covers are fantastic, so. Okay. Next up are all Oxford purchases. First up, we're going to talk about Pamela by Samuel Richardson. I will link the video that corresponds to this book that has driven me into an entirely new series of videos because of this book. I am not sad I read it. However, it's not for everybody. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And because of Pamela, I had to go pick up Joseph Andrews and the and Shamala by Henry Fielding. Shamala is his response to Pamela. And it is on deck for March. And it is not very long, and it is epistolary as well. So we will see how I get along with Mr. Fielding. And speaking of Mr. Fielding, I'm going to read Tom Jones. Is this Tom Jones? Yep, this is Tom Jones. And not tiny. It's not tiny. It is okay, so it is less than 900 pages. I say that, but it's less than 900 pages. Probably 800 pages or so. And this is for the Road to the First English Novel. We shall see if this is it. And I did pick up, I am not reading it in March. I will try and start it, but it is over... this is another over 900 page book. That is Cecilia by Frances Burney. I haven't read Evelina, which I believe is published, I know is published first. And I'm going to read these after I discover the First English Novel, just because they were published after where I think the First English Novel was. And so I will not be reading this with the rest of the Jane Austen year-long readathon, but I will get to it. It's nice and, you know, chunky. Apparently it's the year of chunky books, which is okay. I'm not overly upset. Okay. Next up, let's do Catholic fiction. Make sure, yep, Catholic fiction. These were all purchased at the end of 2024. They arrived right before the beginning of the new year. So first up would be The Diary of a Country Priest by... Who's this by? George Bernanos. And this was published 1937. And I had never heard of it. I found it on the catholicstore.com, which I will link in the description box down below. And I'll read you the back. Awarded the Grand Prix for Literature by Académie Française and the Prix Féminin, The Diary of a Country Priest recounts the daily life and spiritual turbulence of a young cleric as he attends to the needs and whims of his provincial parishioners. While his insights, jottings, character sketches, half-thoughts, and revisions illuminate both the joys and sorrows in the tiny Catholic universe of Ambrecourt, such as the bitterness of Madame la Contessa or Delbende's world weariness, or the arrogance of Dr. Laval, they also increasingly lay bare the Christian soul of the young country priest himself, who ultimately and poignantly discovers the divine grace that lies beyond all human suffering. So, it's not very long. It is under 300 pages, and I like the cover too. So, and that leads me to The Word, the Flesh, and Father Smith by Bruce Marshall. And I believe this one was published in the 1945. Again, Catholic fiction. And to ride along in the mind and heart of Father Smith is to experience the toil, frustration, humiliation, mercy, love, fear, and patience that brings this tender and unassuming priest such contemplation. You will be mesmerized by this brilliant, deeply moving account of the life of a Scottish Catholic priest in the first half of the 20th century. Okay, the one nonfiction book is Catholic Literary Giants, a field guide to the Catholic literary landscape, and it is by Joseph Pierce. It is published by Ignatius Press, and I needed this. I needed it in my repertoire of places to go for Catholic fiction. So it is broken up into 5 parts. The first part is tradition and conversion. Part 2 is the Chester Ballock. 3 is the Wasteland. 4 is Tolkien and the Inklings, and 5 is More Things Considered. And it talks about a lot of different authors. Just flipping through the back, Tolkien, Sigrid Undstedt, Evelyn Waugh, H.G. Wells, trying to see, Mary Shelley, Percy Bysshe Shelley are mentioned. Flannery O'Connor. So it is a lot of authors, and I plan to just slowly read this and take notes, and it's my copy forever. So yeah, probably, of interest to fewer than a lot of you, but it's of great interest to me. So, and if that is the only nonfiction book I read all year, I am good with that. Okay, now for fantasy and science fiction. I'm lumping them together. I have started this one. I have shown it before, but I still have not made further progress in it. That is Healer by Linda Windsor. This is an Arthurian, I don't want to say retelling, but it's Arthurian in nature. What I've read, I've thoroughly enjoyed. I just have not had the bandwidth to sit down and read more, so I need to make this one a priority, and I apologize, Jazz, for not getting this read during your book club. That is just poor form on my part, and I deeply apologize for that. Okay. This one you have seen before in my weekly wrap-up. This is An Anthem by Neil Stevenson. I am buddy reading this with Chrissy over at Chrissy's Purple Library. If you haven't checked her out, I will link her channel down below. It is also the March and April read-along for Tiffany over at Beautiful Minutia, and I will link her announcement video down below. Chrissy and I are starting this a little early. We're going to take our time, and I am looking forward to it. I don't think I have read anything by him, but I am not 100% positive about that, so I'll read you the back. It sounds fascinating. For 10 years, Far Erasmus, a young avowed, has lived in a cloistered sanctuary for mathematicians, scientists, and philosophers, protected from the corrupting influences of the outside world. But before the week is out, both the existence he abandoned and the one he embraced will stand poised on the brink of cataclysmic change. And Erasmus will become a major player in a drama that will determine the future of his world, as he follows his destiny to the most inhospitable corners of the planet and beyond. I just think it sounds fascinating. It's going to be, political and religious and science fiction and space, and there's there are notes to the reader. There is a timeline for the world. I was talking to Chrissy yesterday. Yep, there's formulas in the back. So it's just going to be a fascinating read. And I'm looking forward to it. Okay, next up. As you may or may not know, I do play World of Warcraft. And I greatly enjoy the books. And I am going to start sharing them here. When I share them, when I read them, I'm just going to put WoW playing in the background as I talk about the book. First up for that is going to be, and again, really? That's a brand new book from Amazon. Don't get me started. Anyway, this is War of the Scaleborn, and I'm sorry about the glare. There we go. And it is written by Courtney Almeida. I have not read anything by her. This is for the Dragonflight expansion, which I have already played all the way through. It is not the current expansion, but it is the most recent past expansion. And I will read you the back. When the world was young, all life shook before the might of Galakrond, a massive primal dragon whose hunger could not be sated. 5 primal dragons rose valiantly beside the Titan Forge Keeper Tyr to combat this threat. Though the fight was desperate, Galakrond fell by their teeth and talons, and the 5 were chosen to become protectors of Azeroth. The Titans gifted Nozdormu, Ysera, Alexstrasza, Malygos, and Neltharion with order magic, transforming them into the aspects, powerful dragons with command of time, nature, life, magic, and even the earth itself. Other primal dragons followed on their path, and imbued with the Titan's power, the Dragonflights rose to shape the world and serve the aspects. That is the tale the Dragonflights have always told. But it is not the whole story. For as Alexstrasza and her flight set to reshape Azeroth, not all of Dragonkind sees order magic as a gift. Spurning the Titan's interference, a group of rebel primal dragons are imbued with the elemental powers of the planet and are reborn as incarnates. Led by Ridikaron, the incarnates believe that Dragonkind should be subservient to no one. They foment a rebellion against the aspects, what they are, and all they represent. Despite the efforts of Alexstrasza and her primal friend Viranoth to preserve peace, both sides slip closer to violence as dragons are forced to choose a side or be swept up in the growing conflict. With battle lines and allegiances drawn, the war among Dragonkind shakes the foundation of the world. Both sides realize they will have to make sacrifices to secure the future of their kind, sacrifices that will cascade through the ages. I'm very much looking forward to this, and when I finish it, I can buy the book for the current expansion, which would be a good idea to do this year, before the next expansion releases. So, okay, and now we get to the very, very complicated book that my husband bought. I will try and find the video he watched, and I was only, out of the corner of my eye, occasionally watching it with him. I was reading a book. I was completely engrossed. And that would be House of Leaves by, who is this by? Mark Z. Danilewski. And supposedly this is a very, very complex book, and you have to flip back and forth and try and figure it out. It is not a straightforward story. Like, here's one page. And here's another set of pages. And it's not even all in the same font. And here's another one. It is not going to be a very quick read. So I'll read you the cover. Years ago, when House of Leaves was first being passed around, it was nothing more than a badly bundled heap of paper, parts of which would occasionally surface on the internet. No one could have anticipated the small but devoted following this terrifying story would soon command. Starting with an odd assortment of marginalized youth, musicians, tattoo artists, programmers, strippers, environmentalists, and adrenaline junkies, the book eventually made its way into the hands of older generations, who not only found themselves in those strangely arranged pages, but also discovered a way back into the lives of their estranged children. Now, for the first time, this astonishing novel is made available in book form, complete with the original colored words, vertical footnotes, and newly added second and third approaches. The story remains unchanged, focusing on a young family that moves into a small home on Ash Tree Lane where they discover something terribly wrong. Their house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Of course, neither Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist Will Navidson nor his companion Karen Green was prepared to face the consequences of that impossibility until the day their two little children wandered off and their voices eerily began to return another story of creature darkness, of an ever-growing abyss behind the closet door, and of that unholy growl which soon enough would tear through their walls and consume all of their dreams. Yeah, this is not going to be a sit down and read it in a weekend kind of book, or even sit down and read it in a month. I mean, really, these are 2 pages. What am I supposed to do with 2 pages that have, you know, what? Less than 10 words between them? So, that is just going to be an ongoing project. I'm not starting it this month, but I am starting it sooner rather than later. So, when I make progress, I will bring you along with me. Okay, that concludes everything I have currently not put away, and I will begin putting away now. Have you bought anything recently? Do you play Warcraft? Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.